In the next half hour on the marketplace, the Bank of Ghana has no intention of printing 500 Ghana cedi notes as the new banknote pops up. We have details on this developing story. Also, the Ghana Agricultural Workers Union, GAU, questions number of jobs created under government's Plenty for Food and Jobs program. And later, as polls open in the United States of America to elect a president, what will be the implication of the elections on the city and the nation's balance of payment? We have details as over 300 million Americans head to the polls today. I'm Charles Aita. We have details of these stories and more coming up shortly after this break. Hello and welcome to the program. Now, economists calls for private sector support to diversify the economy for speedy post-COVID-19 recovery. In this particular effect, Professor Eric Asibe is urging the private sector to support initiatives by government to diversify the country's economy post-COVID-19. According to him, the call for diversification in the economy is a very critical one that government alone cannot handle. He was speaking to Joy Business on the sidelines of the Graphic Business Stanbic Bank breakfast meeting in Accra.
Looking more into import substitution products, right, that are going to be produced here. And therefore, it's one thing that the business people having the need to invest in such resources, and there's another thing, the people themselves demanding the product that come out of the produce. And so, as I mentioned, it's a collective responsibility, and it will mean that we need to have some kind of attitudinal change. We need to have a positive attitude towards made in Ghana products. Change our taste and preferences towards that, because if they produce and we don't demand it, they will not be able to build the necessary capacity that will help them to be able to participate into the global or the regional value chain. And so we need to start from home, so that the whole talk about diversification is not only the responsibility of the states, it is the responsibility of the private sector, producers, and then the consumers. All of us have to come together to make it happen. Otherwise, no amount of investment can really help to sustain, production. We've seen businesses that have started, that often because of lack of markets and demand for their produce, they fizzled out.
Now, a senior partner at PricewaterhouseCoopers, Viz Ashiagbo, on his part believes that the Bank of Ghana and the commercial banks in the country should be empowered to support businesses to facilitate economic growth.
Banks mobilize money from depositors, right? And that comes at a cost. So they need to pay that, they need to cover their own costs, and then perhaps make a small margin on top of that. So if you look at these various inputs, something has to give for the interest rates to come down. And in an overall economy where you have a certain level of inflation, I don't think any depositor will be motivated to leave their money in a bank and be getting or be losing value, let's say. So the whole macroeconomic equation comes to play when you talk about the interest rates that banks charge. Then, of course, there's a risk element. I mentioned earlier that those of us in private sector must also take a certain amount of responsibility in terms of how we manage our businesses, how we keep records, because all these things speak to risk, and these are risks that the banks try to price and to cover as part of their interest rates. So to the extent that your business is well run, to the extent that your business has records that are clear, to the extent that your business has good management practices, I think you can reduce some element of those interest rates. But of course, it's not necessarily within your power to deal with the bigger issues such as the level of inflation in the economy, for which the bank is also trying to cover. And within the bank's own control is how they manage their costs, which is why a lot of them are also pushing digitization and other things, just as we have discussed today. So it's a long-standing problem, but I think there are efforts ongoing in that direction. But as I always say, it's a shared responsibility, and private sector also has a role to play in that.
The theme for this year's breakfast meeting is, of course, leveraging COVID-19 as a launch pad to diversify Ghana's economy. Away from that, Joy Business can confirm that the Bank of Ghana has no intention whatsoever of printing a 500 Ghana cedi note. Now, a new 500 cedi note with pictures of ex-presidents in the Fourth Republic and current President Akufo-Addo enshrined in it have surfaced online. It resembles the 50 Ghana cedi notes, but our sources at the Bank of Ghana says it has not dreamt of any particular plan of printing another higher denomination banknote. Now, this is not the first time such an orchestrated plan has occurred. Remember, last year, the Bank of Ghana launched the 100 and 200 cedi higher denomination cedi banknotes to reduce high transaction costs, among others. To this effect, the Bank of Ghana has issued out an alert warning to the general public, especially when fraud is rife in these cases of speculation. Now, indigenous firm Stearman Group is challenging Ghanaian entrepreneurs to see challenges as opportunities and tap the main benefits that comes with it. Now, the firm, which is into healthcare management, retail, and real estate as well, energy, hospitality, amongst others, believe that there are many opportunities in the country. Speaking to Joy Business, Chief Executive Kwabena Obeng, who also inducted into the Corporate Ghana Hall of Fame over the weekend, said his outfit's positioning strategy helped it withstand the COVID-19 pandemic.
I have a philosophy that in every problem there is an opportunity. And, at the strategic level with our companies, we've, identified a lot of opportunities that we feel with more support from the government and other stakeholders, we can only but, grow even bigger than what we are right now. That means more jobs, more avenues of employment, using innovation and technology, because COVID has taught us a lot of lessons that, everything is not brick and mortar. So, there are other things that we can do, and that means more opportunities for growth. We, locally in Ghana, we are anticipating getting into real estate. We have real estate. We want to, expand. And we currently also have a lot of government contracts in the road industry. So we are also doing that. And the cinema business, it's kind of slow, but we want to, turn things around in a better way that makes it more safe. So the opportunities are immense and, numerous.
And you're still watching the marketplace. Now, Chief Executive of Independent Power Producers, Eleplame Apetokbo, of course, independent power producers say that they might be compelled to shut down production over debt-owed government. Now, the move has been influenced by challenges in the progression with regards to the clearance of some 1.3 billion cedi debt. The Chief Executive, of course, spoke to Joy Business, stating that it can no longer guarantee the supply of power in this particular situation.
We do not have a real solution coming from the government. We have petitioned, used all diplomatic means to get our debts paid, but unfortunately it's not forthcoming. So I don't really know how we can guarantee supply of power in the coming days.
How bad is the situation that if this monies are not provided now, you might be forced to take certain drastic measures?
The fact is that we cannot guarantee supply of power if the monies are not paid or if the debt is not settled. That is the real fact.
The next days or weeks?
In the next few, just you can talk from today. We can't guarantee. We do not want to give any timeline to this because I want to say it's the most strategic thing for government to consider in these present times because it's a very high risk to the whole nation. We cannot guarantee if the monies are not paid.
Haven't you used all diplomatic and all available means to let government appreciate how serious the situation is, or they are still trying to audit your numbers?
I can show you a series of letters that we have written, meetings that we have attended that have not yielded any results. It appears we are just, just being toyed with. Yeah, they do not see the real risk. We've just been sacrificing from the COVID area. All the generations we have secured funds to be able to keep the lights on during all these times.
You're still watching the marketplace. Now, as part of strategies to give Ghana's intermediate cocoa processing industry a facelift, the National Export Development Strategy has hinted of plans to facilitate the downward review of 42.5% local taxes on the cost of every bar of locally produced chocolate sold on the Ghanaian market. Now, this is not just to whip up local consumption of chocolate, but also to get local processors competitive for the global market. There is more in this report. Ghana is ranked as the second largest producer of good quality cocoa. However, there is little processing and consumption of the cash crop. According to the cocoa processing company CPC, Ghanaians consume only 400 grams of chocolate daily compared to other developed countries that consume twice the number. One major reason for this is how expensive it is to buy just a bar of chocolate. A lowering of the 42.5% tax on chocolate is believed to bring down the cost of producing chocolate in the country. So far, threats to Ghana's cocoa processing industry include the limited access to foreign markets for tertiary cocoa products, chocolate and similar confectionery being expensive in Ghana, as well as the over-reliance on small-scale farmers for production of cocoa beans. The strategy document, which targets to attract $25.3 billion from non-traditional exports by 2029, seeks to vigorously promote and support Ghanaian majority-owned manufacturing companies to undertake cocoa processing in Ghana and forward integration towards the selling of liquefied chocolate mass or manufacturing of chocolates in the consumer market country. Meanwhile, a SWOT analysis of the country's cocoa processing industry has revealed the over-reliance on small-scale farmers for the production of cocoa beans as raw material and funding syndication by Cocoa Board for financing raw bean purchase from farmers as existing weaknesses that deserve strategic intervention. NETS is designed to update and realign the existing World Bank-financed national export strategy for non-traditional exports with current government policies and key programs to give it an industrialization thrust. For Joy Business, I'm Charles Aite. Well, let's still stay on the cocoa industry to bring you specific, illustrations on the threats that currently exist when it comes to the full value chain of the cocoa processing, companies. And we shall be playing that particular illustration on your screens for you to have a look at it. There we have them. When we're talking of the threats to Ghana's cocoa processing industry, first of all, we're looking at the limited access to foreign markets for tertiary cocoa products. We have seen this time and time again where Cocoa Board has even raised concerns about this restricted access to foreign markets, which impedes Ghana's entire contributions to the global cocoa industry. Now, the second point has to do with the chocolates and similar confectionery, which are very expensive in Ghana. We've spoken to so many cocoa producers who say the cost involved in producing chocolate in mass quantities, not just for local consumption, but even for the international market, is very high. So hence the hikes in chocolate prices across the country. And the third very important threat to Ghana's cocoa processing industry is the over-reliance on small-scale farmers for production of cocoa beans. Of course, each and every year we have a target over 900 metric tons of cocoa to be produced in Ghana alone, with a restricted number of cocoa farmers. You could imagine the burden on them, the pressure to produce more amidst the threats of various diseases. Now, under the NETS program as well, as you could see on your screens, they are projecting specific revenue gains from the exports of cocoa products under this initiative, and huge margins there. From 2020, they're expecting a $923 million gain from the export of cocoa products, and it's going to be jumped over 100% to about $1.7 billion by 2029. These are the figures on your screens there. It helps you understand and give you a clear appreciation of where Ghana's cocoa processing industry must be headed by 2029 under the National Export Development Strategy. Well, away from that, the Ghana Agricultural Workers Union, GAU, is questioning the number of jobs created and the government's flagship Planting for Food and Jobs program. According to the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, more than 2 million jobs have been created since the program started in 2017. Now, although GAO will not put out alternative figures, its General Secretary Edo Karewe wants a review of how these jobs are determined. Prince Apia reports.
The introduction of Planting for Food and Jobs program was to promote food security, ensure ready markets for produce, and provide jobs. Earlier this year, the government claimed more than 2 million jobs have been created under the program. General Secretary of GAU, Edward Karewe, is however questioning the employment figures.
The Planning for Food and Jobs claims to have brought up is creation of jobs. We have been questioning all that, how they determine the jobs and the sustainability of those jobs. Over 2 million to 3 million jobs have been created per the statistics from the Ministry of Agriculture. But we ask ourselves, where are the jobs? Well, we believe that jobs are tangibles and jobs are verifiable. When Ghanaians say they want job, what do they understand? What is their understanding of the ordinary Ghanaian on the street about job? He's not talking about having a job just for one day. He's not talking about having a job just for 1 week. He's talking about having something that he can depend on for his daily livelihood and for his dependents. Does the Planting for Food and Jobs, the jobs that they've created, can they tell us what proportion of it indeed meets this type of criteria of the ordinary Ghanaian?
He also says the program has failed to address post-harvest losses and access to market. Edward Karewe spoke on the sidelines of GAU's 60th anniversary celebration and its 11th quadrennial delegates conference in Kumasi. The theme for the conference was 60 years of promoting decent work in agriculture, the role of GAU. Mr. Karewe observed unbridled importation of food items continued to undermine the efforts of farmers.
The program has not been able to actually address the post-harvest losses and also create market for the farmers. Last year, 2019, where rice farmers were left with their produce at the vagaries of the weather in the rains when they had produced and harvested, and there was no market. You go to the northern part of the country, you go to BA where tomatoes is produced in large quantities, it's left to rot, So the Planning for Food and Jobs has not yet been able to address that.
GAU, with a membership of about 55,000, is pushing for an environment that will enable farmers to grow sustainably. Prince Apia reporting.
Now, more than 10,000 farmers across Ghana are being trained and equipped to overcome challenges with soil fertility after application of inorganic fertilizers has not yielded good results. The project, which is being spearheaded by the Agricultural Ministry, will also reduce post-harvest losses in cereals and grains by up to 30%. Prince Apia was at the zonal launch of the project in Ejisu in the Ashanti region and has now this report.
10,000 farmers drawn across the country from the northern and middle zone are going to be trained to overcome the issues of soil fertility they battle on their lands. Two NGOs, Tropping Boss Ghana and Friends of the Nations, and academic institution, the Faculty of Renewable Natural Resources of KNUST, are implementing the 4-year project, which is expected to end in 2024. Known as the Research for Development and Innovation Agricultural Learning Project, the project cost 2.120 million euros and is being funded by the European Union. Project lead Che Kwejoyamwa tells Love Business it will contribute to climate-resilient agriculture and food security systems in Ghana. He spoke to Love Business at the zonal launch of the REDA project in Ejisu of the Ashanti region.
Our objective is that we are also going to work with farmers, sample their soil, analyze them, and then come up with specific recommendation that will help improve the nutritional deficiency in these land areas. And we hope that whilst this is done, one, it will improve the crop production. 2, it will reduce post-harvest losses. It will also ensure that farmers are making more income.
Officials say this project is also aligned to Ghana's National Medium-Term Development Policy Framework. Ashanti Regional Agriculture Director Reverend John Menu says this initiative will enhance the productivity and yield of the government Planting for Food and Jobs program.
As far as the government flagship program is concerned, Planting for Food and Jobs, we realize that the ministry is supporting farmers and, for that matter, to improve productivity. And most of these crops are grown on the soil. You know, most of our soils are depleting of the nutrients. So this radii project, which is looking at improving the soil fertility, is timely and will support this program. Because at the end of the day, if the soil that farmers are using are depleted, it means the soil cannot support crop productivity. And for that matter, yields of crops are going to reduce, and it's going to affect the program.
The beneficiaries will also be exposed to the multi-thresher machine that will help address the issue of threshing by the grains and cereal farmers in the country. The 5 municipalities to benefit from this project includes Ijra Sechidumasi municipality of the Ashanti region. Prince Apia reporting.
And we're taking a short break. We're right back to stay. You're welcome back. Now, in February this year, we told you a story of an assembly member who dedicated his life to desilting choke gutters. Video journalist Ernest Okai and his devoted friends desilted choke gutters at the time to provide great relief to residents there. JoyNews' Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reports one of the greatest dreams of the Asafo assembly member has finally been realized after 8 months of clearing garbage in choke gutters. Let's first recount how Mr. Okai and his team were desilting gutters in the electoral area.
Ernest Okai seems to know firsthand the anguish of not having a proper sanitation system, and now that he has won an assembly election, he is dedicating his life to a crisis many residents have suffered in silence. Choked gutters are not just complications, they bring many problems that impact negatively on the lives of people.
This time around, we decided to come to Asafo Market because of our drainage system. So we are embarking on this exercise to make sure that all the drainage system within the market is cleared, because very soon we are going to experience the rain, or there's going to be a rainfall. If you don't do this, there's going to be a severe rainstorm in the market. So we decided to embark on this cleanup exercise.
That was how JoyNews reported the story of assembly member for Asafo electoral area in Kumasi. But today, Ernest Okai has realized one of his dreams, setting up of plastic collection center in the electoral area.
Good. We've been able to collaborate with Environment 360 and KMA Waste Management Department to put up this structure. In fact, this structure is going to help us in managing our plastic waste in this electoral area. And going forward, it's not only going to help this electoral area, Kumasi as a whole. So we are entreating the residents that when you finish drinking your water, don't throw the bottle away. Make sure that you pile up it somewhere and bring it here.
The 10-ton capacity plastic collection facility is expected to deal with plastic waste. A target of 2 tons per day is likewise expected to be realized. This means that the facility will reach its capacity in 5 days. By December 2020, the facility might have collected at least 122 tons of plastic waste. Ernest wants the best of both worlds: clean environment and job creation.
At the end of the day, when you are going from here, you will get money. So 1 is going to serve as a source of employment, and 2 is going to help us to clean our environment.
Well, what you did see was the power of civic responsibility there. Let's move on. Country manager of Royal Dutch Airlines, KLM, Dick van Nieuwenhuizen, says the company is prepared for the commencement of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Here is our quick take for today.
Having the agreement in place, that means that local companies in Africa will benefit. Now, if you look at KLM, for example, what I said before, we connect Accra to the world and the world to Accra. We make it easier for foreign investment, foreign companies who want to establishment here to make use of the trade agreement.
That's 60 years of operations in Ghana, the KLM story. Congratulations to them. That's how we end this edition of The Marketplace. I'm Charles Aite.